My friends, whether we admit it or not, we are terrified of silence. We're terrified of the quiet places. I mean, think about how most of us go to sleep. You got a fan in your room just for some background noise. You got a sound machine playing white noise. You got to play calming piano, ocean sounds, whatever it is. We constantly need noise. And if we really think about why we need that, it's because the world around us is chaos all the time. It's constant chaos. There are constantly the sounds of cars moving, of horns honking, of sirens, and this people talking. Now, I love people, but there's not much space in our world because we're constantly listening to something. And for most of us, we appreciate that space. We appreciate the sounds that we absorb through the rhythms of the day. It really is that rhythm. Most of us start our day and we listen to some sort of radio or podcast or watch videos on our phone. We play music and turn on that morning playlist to get our energy up. And it's a really good thing that we have this cadence and rhythm to our day. But if we're honest with ourselves, that rhythm doesn't leave much room for God. When we confine ourselves to playlists and the noisy cacophony that exists around us, we don't leave much room for God. And so there's an importance to us embracing the quiet spaces. Now, if you've ever been in absolute silence, you'll recognize that silence isn't actually silence. Silence is deafening. It's absolutely deafening. It oozes into your very being, and it's very, very uncomfortable. Because silence seems loud when we've never experienced it. I mean, think about the last time that you were in a space that there was no noise. I've intentionally secluded myself in this area, this cabin that's completely surrounded by nature, and still, listen. There's a fly flying around here. There's birds that are singing. There's a horn that's going. There's a helicopter going somewhere. I hear a tractor far off. There's little sounds of squirrels. I saw a deer out there earlier. There are noises no matter where we go. But there's a difference, my friends, between silence and quiet. Silence is absolute, but quiet leaves rooms for the rhythm of life. And I wonder if we don't actually just pursue quiet. I want you to think about the times that you connect with God, those spaces that you create, whether it's prayer time, whether it's worship time, whether it's a devotional or meditational time. What are those spaces and what do they look like? I think for most people, the truth is we try to fill those spaces with as much as possible. We read scripture, which is a wonderful and great thing. It's a guiding thing. We journal and use guides to go through that. We do Bible studies. We listen to meditation videos. And all the while we're doing this, we listen to calming instrumental music. We listen to worship music to connect us to the Spirit. But my friends, what if that noise actually adds to the chaos? The truth is you can't structure your way to God. I learned through writing songs that you need to do this thing called seat time. That whether you had an idea or inspiration or not, every single day you go and you sit down at the piano, and for 5, 10, 15 minutes every single day, you just try. You sit down and you play, and you try to work something out, and nothing may come out of that 15 minutes. You might have no new ideas, you might get no further to your goal, but you invite the space for something to bloom, for something to develop. And if you never show up, if you never create that space, how do you know what can come out of that? We expect God to show up in these triumphant ways. We just do. We expect God to show up and to show out in all ways, to make this loud entry into our lives, to be bold and provocative. But the truth is, God often moves in much smaller ways. And whether we admit it or not, we don't like that. We want God to be bold. We want God to make these abundantly clear messages. But sometimes God just speaks in the quiet. But that quiet only works if we create space for it. How do you listen to the voice of God speaking to you when you're humming along to your favorite worship song? Are you actually listening to God, or are you listening to the music? How do you focus on receiving something new when you're in a space that's old? I mean, the truth is, silence, quiet, and stillness are all words that we run away from, but they're all things that are incredibly important to the Spirit. When Jesus needed to reconnect with God, when Jesus needed to unburden his spirit, where did he go? He went up to the mountain to pray. And he went up to a place that was not hospitable. He went up to a place that was still and quiet. It wasn't silent. There was nature and life around him. But he went up to a space that was not the same old space, that was not surrounded by people and noise and the chaos and the rhythms of everyday life. He went to a place that would invite the Spirit of God. And I have to believe that an incredible part of that prayer time was spent listening. And even more than the silence, even more than the quiet, I think that is what scares us. Truly listening. Because in a space where we're open to receive whatever God has for us, we might not get the answer we want. And my friend, whether you admit it or not, that terrifies some of us. That we don't get the answer that we want from God. That God tells us to go right when we've been planning all of our lives to go left. That God tells us to put something down that we've been clinging to and pouring into, but it's actually not for us. A true connection with God requires quiet. It requires us to carve out space in our lives outside of the rhythms, outside of the chaos, outside of the noise that constantly surrounds us. And that means putting our phone down. That means turning off the playlist. That means finding ourselves in nature or in a quiet place and just listening. And my friends, if you're willing to give yourself 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to carve out that space and listen to the voice of God, I promise you, God's got a message for you in this season, and that you're going to go where that light of God sends you, but only if you're willing to listen. Thanks for tuning in.
These are your thoughts, potato. This is the hope of God set free. These are your thoughts.